Studio to discuss Depot Friday nights with the Newark Valley Historical Society is Ed Nizolowski. Hello, Ed. How you doing?
Hello.
Good to see you again.
Yes.
Thanks for joining me. So this is the 23rd season of Depot Friday nights. So can you kind of talk about how this all started? Go back in time a little bit.
Yes. Give you kind of a summary of the Depot history, which is really pretty fascinating in a variety of ways. So, railroad first comes through 1869. And it was the Southern Central Railroad. The idea was to bring coal out of Pennsylvania and get it up to freighters on Lake Ontario. So the original tracks went all the way up to Fairhaven. And it was Hungarian immigrants that laid the tracks. I think that's kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Lehigh Valley got interest in the Southern Central very early. One other point is that the depot was built 1869, and then it burned along with a hotel 10 years later. It was immediately rebuilt. So in its heyday, 1890s through the early part of the 20th century, they were running milk runs down to New Jersey and New York. Students would ride the train to go to school. There were three places where you could buy grain around the depot. So it was a real hub of riding. You could get on a train in Newark. You could get at the depot in Newark Valley, go any place in the country through various connections. So traffic starts to drop off even as early as the 1930s. Passenger service stops 1947, and then the depot itself closes in 1969. Now, without any kind of commercial money coming in, how do you maintain a building?
Yeah.
So as with so many hundred depots around the country that weren't repurposed, it basically fell into a serious state of decline. So right about the time that the Historical Society was formed and we were restoring the farmstead, a fellow by the name of Ray Shaver, who had a love of railroads and he grew up next to the depot, he was looking at this building that basically had one foot in the grave, the other one was ready to fall in. And he said, no, this we got to save this building. So he had a partner in crime, Clark Smith, and between the two of them, they just did hundreds and hundreds of hours of work, and they were handymen. It wasn't too much they couldn't do between the two of them. So, but I remember Ray saying, we took the floor out of the waiting room with a shovel, and he wasn't exaggerating.
Okay.
Yeah. So for a while, we were running. There was an excursion train. We would run a shuttle bus up to the farmstead. And then Fred and Marshall Kiesel came along about 20-some years ago, and we started these Depot Friday night programs, and they have evolved and developed. We've got a wagon that is used as an outdoor stage. So currently, when the weather cooperates, we have certain groups. We'll have 300-400 people that come out.
Okay.
And then there's this group called the Depot Divas. Wonderful food at a reasonable price, wonderful desserts. So it's really become kind of part of the Newark Valley's identity. And I talk to people from Endicott, from Binghamton, Ithaca. So they really enjoy the atmosphere. And you get a chance to see some railroad and commercial history from Newark Valley once you step inside the building.
Yeah, there's a lot of history there, and it's nice that you can have music there as well, so
Yeah.
you can admire the history and also hear the great music. So you've had 3 already.
Yes.
So kind of how have those gone? What has the community been like there?
So one thing I do want to mention, we get a lot of support from New York State Council for the Arts, so I got to give them credit.
Okay.
So, yes. So we put together a guide that's readily available to anybody on our website. So the first group that came were the Tarps, and then followed by Donna and the Country Mystics, just a really great country music band. Last week was a little big band. They had like 6 people, but they really had, good solid sound for music from the swing era, in that time period. Tomorrow's the Stoutmen, a great Irish group, so hopefully the weather cooperates.
Yeah.
And then first act in July is Greg Neff. You also see him down at Carol's Coffee House in Owego pretty frequently.
I've heard of him, yeah.
Yeah. We have one regular presentation, Rick Marcy. He always draws a good crowd. This year he's doing Arctic Dreams, exploring northern Finland and Norway.
Okay.
So that should be fascinating. Rick Pedro, fabulous pianist. just a phenomenal musician. And then another Irish band finishes July, Pat Kane in West Eau Claire. He's kind of a regular at Apple Festival. Jazz Happens Band is, 1st of August. Ryan Wilson. This is kind of a family tradition because his father's going to be performing, another time in August. Dean Goebel Band, August 15th. Ain't Misbehavin', August 22nd. And we finish off with local fellow Randy Maritello and the Hop City Hellcats.
Okay, and then you also have some on Saturdays, actually. Even though it's Depot Friday nights, we have some on Saturdays.
So, July 26th, which is coincides with Summerfest for Newark Valley.
Okay.
We're going to have music at the Depot, and there's also going to be a vintage car show, at that same period of time. And then Rich Wilson, who was a Depot Friday night regular, and then his son is Ryan, so he'll be coming back on August 30th.
Okay, perfect. So if people want to find more information or find kind of that program, where can they find more information?
They can go to our website, and then we have brochures available at the Depot, at the farmstead. The Hollenbeck's grocery store has them. So, if they need something in print.
Yeah, I think this is so cool because people, again, can come out and see all of the history that you talked about, but also have a great Friday night of music.
Yeah, it's a great venue for just a whole variety of things. And through the course of the summer, you'll have, it's like a music history course.
Yeah, of course. Well,
and then I'm in my Dr. Jazz persona, and I call myself, I'm the warm-up band.
Okay.
I play for about an hour before the featured performers.
Okay.
I play a mixture of Baroque flute music and music popular from a century ago, give or take a decade or two.
All right, well, people don't know it yet, but he will be performing after the break. But Ed, thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you in just a second.
Okay.
For those of you who might have missed those details, the Newark Valley Historical Society is proud to present the 23rd season of Depot Friday Nights, a beloved summer concert series held at the historic Ray Shaver Depot in the village of Newark Valley. Taking place every Friday from June through August, the depot opens at 5:30 p.m., 5 p.m. in August, with performances starting at 7 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. in August. Admission is free and a variety of food and desserts are available for purchase. For the full schedule and details, visit nvhistory.org. And still ahead on Around the Tiers.